Hello, everyone, and welcome to PAX Area Gaming. My name is Reg, and today we will conclude our journey with the Destined One and Zubaji in Black Myth Wukong. Okay, when we last were here, we completed quite a few bosses. Chapter 6 is really mostly about bosses. And there were a couple we left behind. When we ended the last video, we had just defeated the Praying Mantis boss and rescued Zubashi. And there were 3 bosses, I believe, left before we actually follow him to Water Curtain Cave. The first one is this gentleman here, the Son of Stones, who is minding his own business, happily clapping his hands, and we are going to go and provoke him to fight us. He's a big boss, not all that different from the Father of Stones. Very different from the Mother of Stones, who was an immobile character that just kept conjuring the rock flies to fight you. This one moves around a little bit, but his most devastating move is this one right here, where he creates this electricity AoE around him, after which he will need some rest. But if you get caught in that and you're at, let's say, half health, you will die. If you're full health, it'll take away a good chunk of your health, it won't kill you. So you just be careful to make sure that when he's charging up, you can't stop him from doing that. Most of the other moves you can move away from. He's fairly slow. Other than the electricity damage, he will do lightning damage. Sorry, electric lightning damage, he will do physical damage. But very, very easy boss. He doesn't move around a lot, which gives you a large opportunity to get many strikes in. And there are no, other than what you gain from killing the boss, a mine core and some crafting materials, there's nothing else in this little plateau. Okay, so the next boss is another rock type boss, but a very different boss. And in order for you to activate this boss, you need to make sure you have all of the Scandias that you find in the previous chapters. If you don't have them, and you come to the area where the boss is, you won't activate. And you might not even realize it's a boss because nothing happens. It's just a big sort of mountain or a big hill in the middle of an open arena. Yeah, he's pretty well tucked away. But if you find this little ravine, the only way you can get to him is through this area and using Cloud Step. I don't believe you can walk to the area. Maybe once you get in the area, you can walk. But I said Cloud Step. It really is a somersault cloud. You just keep following it until you get to the end of the ravine. It leads to a drop-off. You see him in the middle there. When you fly into the arena, your somersault cloud will dissipate. And that happens automatically when you fly into any boss arena. Sun Assault Cloud can't be used outside of this area of the game or this chapter of the game, and you can't use it during boss fights. I hope they change that during the DLC. So this is a big sort of rock boss, but he is a little different from the other rock bosses that we fought in that he doesn't move. His main body sort of stays in the same spot. He will swipe at you. And he'll slam the ground. Those are his two really main attacks. He has one attack where he inhales. I guess if you're close enough, it'll pull you to him, and then he'll attack you. That's what he's doing now. I was never close enough to get sort of caught in that. When he pounds the ground, you simply jump over. You time it right, because if you don't, it will knock you down. And if he's in the pound mode where he's doing it multiple times, you end up getting a bit stun locked, and you can die from it. But these are the slower ones and the single shockwaves that come through. The goal is to hit those blue crystals on his fists. And that was not a good attempt on the part. So if you connect with the bigger crystals, you do a lot more damage. You'll have a little bit of time to get a few hits in, and then you should move away because he will repeat his slam, his swipe, and the inhale move. Okay, get one more in, and then you have to run back. This was a better hit. And you don't have to focus on both of his hands or fists. You really only need to focus on one. So pick your favorite, whether it's the left hand or the right hand. When I came into the arena, I was on his left side, my right, so I decided to just stick to that side. So he did his inhale move. Now he's doing his twin fist slams. And I jumped one and didn't jump the other. The key is just recognizing the distance, how close he is. I should be closer because when he goes to rest and his fists are on the ground, I need to get there quick enough to hit the blue crystals before he gets up again. If you're too far away, he will wake up or recover before you're able to get to the crystals. That was a perfect hit on the crystals. A lot of damage. And so you want to just stay working on it. When you get him to this point, the fight is really basically over. He's going to go into a little tantrum and start slamming. And that's probably the point at which you could die. If you get hit by one of them and you're stun locked, and the second one, because they're a little bit more powerful and you're a little bit closer. Alright, so when he lays down like that, you climb up. And there's one more Scandia up here that you can get. But you actually get it from your godmother there. I call her that because she was around at the birth of the original Sun Wukong. I don't know whether she was taking care of the stone egg that he was in at the time, or whether she was just watching over it, or what her purpose for existing was. Because they never talk. You know, she doesn't talk, and Destined One doesn't talk, and this is post Sun Wukong, so I don't really know the full story of their backstory. So she actually recovered the Scandia and gave it to him. And she's appeared in every chapter, so she must be aware of the quest that the old monkey gave to the Destined One. Okay, so the boss is really done. He has one last gasp, and then he becomes a big rock hill again. Okay, so there is one final boss before we actually go to where Zubaji wants us to follow. He wants us to meet him at Water Curtain Cave. I'll explain that in a second. This little wood beast, I can't remember his full name, but this guy, there are many versions of him throughout the watery area of this map, and you can fight them all if you want, for materials and XP or will. There are quite a few, but there's only one boss, and that's this one. You'll notice it because their health bars are different. And they all sort of do the same thing. It will dip under the water, will jump up and attack you. The difference is this one's bigger. The other ones are a little bit smaller than this one, but the moveset is the same. He moves around a lot, but you can always mobilize him, get some hits in. If you have the Wandering White, you can use that to get some damage in and stun him as well. Or if you have the upper mana back, you can also freeze him and do the same thing. Once you get him down, then it should be pretty easy. Yeah, try to zip into Cloud Step mode and wait him out. But as you all know, Cloud Step doesn't last forever. And he can clearly stay underwater longer than I can stay in Cloud Step, so. But it doesn't matter because he's not difficult. And you get another Mind Core. This chapter and the New Thunderclap Temple are two areas where you can get lots of Mind Cores. Although I have to admit, I never tried coming back here to farm for anything. This is the end of the game, so I didn't think to come back here. So I'm going to make one final trip to Zodiac Village. I'm going to talk to the NPCs here. I'm going to get whatever medicines I need. You always get one freebie from Zoodog if you completed this quest. Since he's here, I assume that all of his quest points were done. So if you do that, then every time you meet with him, you'll get one free gift, and then the rest you buy. And of course, the celestial gifts, those mind cores that you can use to upgrade your skills. If you have any that you haven't used, now is a good time to use them. It's worth noting that at each of the shrines, you can buy a certain number of mind core. Now, they won't regenerate, so if you buy 4 mind core from his shrine, and you come back to his shrine, there won't be 4 more for you to buy. So there's a limited number at each shrine, but you really should, make sure you buy all that you can from the shrines. It'll help with your ability to upgrade your skills. Even if you do that, though, in your first playthrough, you won't be able to max all of your, you won't be able to max everything out. So you will never be able to max health, stamina, mana, all in one playthrough. Yeah, you can't even do it in 2 playthroughs. I complete just about every side quest every time I play, and still it took until this 3rd and final playthrough to get to a point where I can max out everything. So this is the secret area of Chapter 6, even though it exists in Chapter 3. This area is in the Pagoda realm. We unlocked it early, we found it, but we really couldn't interact with anything in here. This is the young Buddha.
有位故人已等你许久了，机缘已到，这最后一幅画便是答案。去吧。
In this secret area is Mount May.
比他看得更清楚。
It's a very, very short secret area. There are no treasures. It's a fairly straightforward path. Actually, it is a straightforward path. You can't really deviate from the path. Probably the most straightforward path in the entire game. And there is one shrine. Beautiful scenery. You're going to go to the very top of Mount May. There'll be a plateau there. There'll be a little house, and there'll be an enemy. It is quite the hike. You're going to activate the shrine. You definitely don't want to miss this shrine. So I guess if you miss it and you die, it sends you back to the earlier point. I don't know whether it will automatically spawn you here, but you definitely want to activate. There's no reason not to. There's a pretty far run, so it just makes sense to do that. You see the little dog right there? You remember him from the beginning of the game? So that, of course, means his person or human is here. Well, I don't know whether Erlangshang is a human. He's a half god. I guess he's a demigod. His mother was, I
你心
think I
里
mentioned this in the
一定有过不
first,
去的事， 或者
in
放
the
不
first
下的。
video. His mother was the sister, or is the sister, of the Jade Emperor.
我杀不了那只猴子，没人杀得了。
But he's sort of frowned down upon because he's not a full
后来我才
god.
明
His
白，
dad was a, I don't know,
也许那是
call
唯
him
一
a
的办法。
commoner or a non-god or a non-whatever
他没
it
得选，
is. So that made him a little bit
也
of
没
like
有。
some of the black sheep in the family. So, rather difficult fight. In my first playthrough, it probably took me more than 30 tries to beat this guy. Might have been as many as 40 or so. There are only two bosses I've ever fought in gaming that took longer. One is Millennia, Elden Ring, and the other one is Ishin, the Sword Saint from Sekiro. Millennia took me 70 tries. Ishin took me somewhere around 64, 65 tries. So if you use the max number of focus points, he will sidestep your hit. If you use 2 focus points or 1, he won't. But you have a limited amount of time before that extra armor or shield reappears, and then you have to go back to sort of whittling it down. You can hurt him with the shield active. It just takes more. So the easiest way to cause damage is to get rid of the shield first and then hit him. But if you notice when you're getting hits in, while the shield is being damaged, he's also taking a little bit of damage, not a lot. So the wise move here is to equip anything that gives you extra ki. So you can equip a particular soak in your gourd that increases ki. Using this spin move just increases my focus points pretty quickly, so that's why I'm doing it. When he's gold like that, it means you can't immobilize him, so don't try. It'll be a waste of mana to try to immobilize him when he's in that sort of gold mode. But right now, before his shield comes back, you can get some damage in. And you will take damage too, so you still have to be aware that you can die. The shield will come back. This is me using some medicines to reduce damage and gain attack power. So I moved away from using Wukong's armor in this fight because I needed something that will allow me to generate ki. That's why I changed the armor set that I'm wearing. I'm also using the strand, so if I die, I can still come back to life once. If you use that, this is good. Make sure that you use the spin move to block those blades that are coming at you. That final charge at you won't be blocked by that, so you'll need to be prepared to dodge. Okay, with shield broken, you want to be close so you can get a lot of damage in. You can also use the Upper Mana Bat in this part of the fight. So I use the Wandering White, which is good, but he moves around a lot, so if you miss him with that, the problem is you've wasted that. If you use the Upper Mana Bat, it never misses. It will freeze him in place. So you must start spinning before the blades get to you to make sure you time them right. Yeah, I let up too early. So if I can get the fan off one more time, I might be able to kill him. But he goes into this shooting lasers out of his eyes and doing all this other stuff. Makes it very difficult. So this is how the life strand works. There's also a medicine that you can use that will give you one life. So if you're really struggling with him, it's better to use both. Right? Have the medicine that you use once, and then save the life-giving strand thingy for the second time. This is really hard not to die in this fight. It will restore part of your gourd drinks as well. And if you have the soak that gives you mana from drinking, it'll restore some of your mana as well. Not enough, maybe enough to do one spell. Like I have the fan available to me now, but he's on me constantly, so I can't get to a space where I'm using it. So if I go into Cloud Step, he can't see me, then I use the fan. It will destroy that shield that he has and give me a chance to do some damage. The goal would have been to sort of kill him at that point, but he backed away from the Wandering White. Got this stupid stab move of his in. So I turned into Stone Monkey because he definitely was going to kill me. There was no way I was going to survive any hits from him, so even though he has his armor back, his shield, that extra armor, you can still do some damage. Note, he doesn't like when you transform, and he will transform and knock you out of the transformation. Okay, that's all my heals. So I really have to end this now, or go through this whole thing again. God, I just cannot avoid that move. Wow. Okay, this is the benefit of using the medicine for one life and then using the strand for the other, after which you have no more lives. So if you die, you do have to start all over again. But when you consider he's down way low in health, and all I have to do is just whittle away a little bit to get him, I figure my chances are pretty good. That's okay. I'm willing to take that move. Yeah, I knew he was going to do the side step. I don't know why I went for that. It's getting a little desperate. Okay, got him. Alright. Phase 1, which is an incredibly long phase, is now done. And this is reminiscent of the opening scene in the game where I transform to get away, and then he transforms and follows me. This time he transforms to lead me away, and then I transform and follow him. And we both transform into our Supermax forms, I guess. So Erlang Shane. In one of the animations, you'll see him in this form as well, fighting Zubaji.
我认的还是这只猴子。
And I'm in the stone monkey form. So based on the dialogue, it sounds as though... actually, I won't reveal it now. We'll see a little bit later. So Erlang, who I think went from Sacred Saint to Divinity. He has two, these phases have different names to them. But anyway, he is allowing the four heavenly kings to spar with us, as he says, since I'm new to this form. And so before we continue to fight with Erlang, we have to defeat the four heavenly kings. They were also in the opening scene of the game. And the good news is they share a health bar. And you don't have a gourd in this form, but you regain health from using strong attacks. From landing strong attacks. If you use them and you miss, then you won't gain anything. But if you land it, you will gain health back. And you can die in this phase. If you die in this phase, you will return back to this phase. You won't have to go back to fighting the first phase of Erlang Shank again, which is good. So these guys, the four heavenly kings, I don't know if they ever mention their names in the book. They certainly never mention their names in the game. But they're part of the Celestial Court, which means they're pretty close to the Jade Emperor. So they'll never all attack you at once. At most, two might try to attack you at the same time, but it's a bit of a tag team. You'll notice they're standing off, watching you fight one, and the other one will come in. One might fly in from another direction, but they won't all four ever attack you at once, which is good. You notice where you're fighting on the lands that you've been traversing. In Chapter 3. And Chapter 3 was the snowy chapter. And this takes place in Mount May, which is found in the Pagoda Realm, which is in the third chapter, so... And you can decide which ones you want to focus on. I was focusing on whoever was closest to me. Because they share a health bar, it isn't as though, I'll just, get this one's health down to low health, and it doesn't really work that way with these particular guys because they share a health bar. So it doesn't matter whether you focus on one or focus on whichever one comes at you. See, he sent his dragon for me and then tried to sneak me. He sends his dragon after me, so it makes perfect sense that I strangle him and beat him to death with his own dragon. And then there was one. They're not difficult. It's just there's a lot going on. You know, between the cinematics and the multiple bosses all at once coming at you, there's a lot going on. So it seems overwhelming, but they're not that difficult. And so now that we've sparred with the four heavenly kings, Erlang, who's been sitting there watching the whole thing, has decided to rejoin the fight. Oh, by the way, don't feel too bad for the heavenly kings. They're all immortal. Now his moves will obviously be different from when he was in his human form. He's sprinted. He doesn't fly at all. In the human form, he'd fly up and move around and do all those things. His movesets are totally different. The sword is his weapon. He is fire-based and lightning-based boss. The sword is always fire. And he's manhandling me there. In this phase, you definitely need to make sure you're getting in the heavy attacks. Because as you can see, he really is putting a beating on me, which is destroying my health. So, you know, part of the reason that's happening is because I was terrible at using Rock Solid, since I hadn't used it during the game. But you really should use it. It's really helpful in this part of the fight. Because he's going to hit you a lot, and as long as it doesn't take a long time to reactivate, which it doesn't, you should definitely use it and get in your heavy attacks when you can to keep your health up. And like in the other phase, if you die in this part of the fight, you'll come back to this part of the fight. So we broke his sword, so like all good god bosses, he's going to bring out another one. So, not all that different from his previous phase he was in before the sword got broken. It's just that this time he will use the, I guess it's an axe or sword, that second weapon that he had, I guess it looks like a sword. And he will use lightning as part of the attack as well. And from somewhere, he's able to turn the sword into a whip. Just to make it a little bit more interesting. It's difficult because if you rock solid the sword and then he swings around again with the whip, it seems to always hit you. But like I said, if you maintain pretty high health, it's just a matter of whittling his health down. And the smarter move, if you can pull it off, is to stay behind him, which I was not able to really pull that move off. And in this phase, you of course never transform back into your Destined One mode, so you don't have the vessels like fireproof mantle and some of that other stuff to use. So this is the next phase of the fight. You can't avoid what just happened. So he's going to, grab you with his sword, and he's going to burn you until you have no health, and you're going to reabsorb. So that's just always going to happen. He doesn't change a lot of attacks. It's the same move. He might use the fire breath a little bit more often in this part of the fight. So yeah, even as Stone Monkey, you should dodge. He moves differently than the Destined One character, so I don't think I was ever really able to master the dodge thing. If you use Rock Solid at the right time, it will stun him because his sword will bounce off of you, which gives you an opportunity to get some good hits in. As you can see, that was a strong attack, which allowed me to heal. That was a Rock Solid that allowed me to stun him a little bit to get some hits in. Managed to dodge his little heat Cyclops thing. Now, looks like Erlang has truly pissed off the Stone Monkey. And with that, the fight has ended. Long fight. Fun fight. Awesome looking fight. At this point, Erlang releases Sun Wukong's memories, which he'd been holding on to. So it turns out that Erlang and Sun Wukong came up with a plan for him to escape the Celestial Court. So this was all part of the plan.
他赢了。我见众兄弟一路是你，就是为了这一刻。
Immortals, so you don't have to worry about them staying dead or staying hurt for too long.
直到今日，我才明白，以使命锁不住他，以道孤困不住他，以肉身之死换意念永续。但愿你不会辜负他。我心结已解，你的路才刚开始。
说他能从那幅画中
So
出
the secret
来，
area is
是
complete.
天命，又该作何说法？
我不过是个卖卦之人，卦象如何，天命便如何。
未来之所以是未来，在于未定，未定之事，天也难算。
天命即因果，前因既定，谁也逃不脱后果。我算不出来，无非前因知道的还不够多。
哎，这世上竟有先生算不出来的事情，好事，好事。
Great philosophical conversation. And so the Destined One returns to the Pagoda realm. And your reward for completing this fight is you get Erling Sheng's staff, his weapon, and some crafting materials. I tried using his weapon. I couldn't consistently figure out how to activate the sort of 1,000 sword thing that he does with the blades. I'm switching back to Sun Wukong's armor here. I was using the armor that gave me more ki. I don't need it now. And so the weapon, Erling Sheng's weapon, is as powerful as Bang, which is Sun Wukong's weapon. And so, because they're equal in terms of power, the benefit from Sun Wukong's weapon is that you get his Sun Wukong's stance, which does a lot of damage, so I decided to keep his weapon instead of switching over to Erling Sheng's. Okay, so now we've done everything that we need to do before approaching the final area of the game. Or an area that leads to the final area of the game. That area is the Water Curtain Cave. It's sort of tucked away. When we flew over to fight the giant Shagangdang creature, it's in that area, but on the left side of the map instead of the right side of the map. So you'll see the golden trees, and earlier we went to the right side through a cleft in the mountain that led to a ravine that led to the Shagangdang. This time we go to the left side, which leads to this little area. Your somersault cloud will dissipate when you enter this area. It's easy, you just follow this little path and jump through the water curtain, get to the other side. I guess if you miss and land in the water, you just walk back around and do it again. I'm not sure. Or maybe you can't miss. I really don't know. So you're going to go through these tunnels until you're able to exit. And you're in Water Curtain Cave. This is where the original Sun Wukong lived with his other monkey friends. Or subjects, maybe? I'm not sure what you call them. I mean, he was their king, so maybe they were his subjects. He protected them, he defended them. They seemed to like him a lot. He got them all killed. This is in part why he was so hell-bent against the Celestial Court. They had no respect for anything else that was on Mount Wagwai. Because they don't exist down here. They exist at the Celestial Palace. They didn't care a lot about what was going on down on Earth. Especially with Yogwais. And monkeys, apparently. This is Zubaji remembering his time here when he first met Sun Wukong.
你是哪里来的彝人？我这大圣部下的群猴都是一般模样。
To be honest, I'm not sure they actually met the way this is inferring.
这是别处来的妖魔。
They met on the journey to the west. Escorting a monk to retrieve the scriptures for the Jade Emperor.
自从西行之后，我许久没来过此处
And
了。
I don't remember
不想还是这模
who
样。
the first one was to join the monk. I know that Sun Wukong gave the monk the most trouble.
还压着我给他磕头呢。原来藏在这里了。果然，连观音都说那猴子一毛不拔。这东西必然也是留给猴子猴孙的。我这儿还是
That
你来
is Jingle Bang, Sun Wukong's staff. The lore in this game, in the novel, is that staff is incredibly powerful and somewhat flexible. Just as the lore about his transformations, he's able to create as many transformations as there are hairs on his head, or as many clones as there are hairs on his head. So the pluck of many, you always see little hairs floating in the air before the clones appear. But he created whole armies of them. I mean, the novel is really very interesting. And I don't think it's ever fully been sort of adapted in a way that shows all of his abilities. So if Sim Studio is actually working on redoing the Monkey King, it would be awesome. Probably easier to do it in an animated form than live action. I've seen the live action movies. I think an animated feature would allow them to do all of the things that he could actually do. And I'm guessing it would likely not be rated G for kids because there's lots of violence in the novel. Sun Wukong was executed multiple times, as was the Bull King. I don't remember whether Zubashi was ever executed. I think he was.
拿了这东西，便不再有退路。
Okay, so in removing the staff, he now opens a path
先知如今披挂骑
back to where
兵
Sun
器凶
Wukong
狠，
was actually
速速上山，
born
让我看看那老胡子
or
用的
hatched.
什么把戏。
Not quite sure. Not quite sure how you would describe that, since he didn't have a natural mother or father, and he was in a giant stone egg. So once this pathway opens up, you're going to follow it out into a very green area. That's quite nice
往
looking.
前便是山顶，我们走。
There are, I think, maybe 2 shrines. There's one at the beginning of the pathway, and then maybe one, I don't know whether it's at the end or actually in the final arena. Because I guess it allows you, if you really wanted to go back to Zodiac Village one more time. But if you die in the final boss, you won't come back here. You'll go back to the shrine that's further ahead. So there are going to be a lot of these celestial knights that you're going to fight. And, I mean, if you wanted to, and you completed the secret area, it would be a good time to try out the weapon that Erlang Shang has. Or, because you now have Jingle Bang, you can use that, which I think is the intent of the game. As you get the stance, you get the 4 focus points. Jingle Bang's reach is a little bit longer, but there are lots of these enemies. But at this point in the game, you know, they can't really do much damage to you. So you're going to be fighting your way all the way up to a peak or a plateau. Actually, a peak. And you'll be transported to a plateau. So you just keep fighting your way through. They don't... Once they're dead, they're dead. They're not respawning after you kill them. They're just respawning as you progress along this ridge. This is Baji gave me a little bit of healing. So what this means, because remember they were sent here, they weren't already here, is that the Jade Emperor is probably watching our progress and isn't interested in us reaching our destination. Otherwise, why would these guys just be here or be in the Mogwai region of the game and they don't appear anywhere else in the game? Only when you get to this final region do they start appearing. And once you start climbing this ridge, they really start appearing. When we first got to this region, we fought them on the way to the first shrine. But then we didn't see a lot of them after that. When we fought the frog boss, we saw a couple of them. Interesting, I'm not quite sure why they appeared there, but they were there, but you didn't see them anywhere else. You saw their bodies on the field where the rhino was. Actually, if you fought more of those hippo-type creatures, some of them will appear with the hippo. Not with the boss hippo, but with the little non-boss versions of the hippo. Some of these guys will appear there as well. Again, I'm not sure why. I don't quite understand the intent of them. I mean, they're just like this. They're not overly powerful. I guess if you're fighting a hippo, they may get in the way a little bit, but the non-boss hippos weren't all that difficult. And I guess, if you wanted to, you can probably run past them. I'm not sure how long they follow you if you try to do that. Like I said, they don't respawn, and you just need to kill them as you progress. And if you're, getting will or XP, then that's a good thing. Because there is a point, like I said, where there's another shrine, and you might be able to use them. Yeah, there were literally thousands of them at the beginning of the game, but they never engaged in the fight. Right? It was just me and Erlang Shen in the fight, and then the four Heavenly Kings got involved for a short period of time at the end of that fight. But the army never did approach, at least not during that opening scene. We saw in one of the cutscenes, I don't remember which chapter now, maybe it was chapter 5, but we saw in one of the cutscenes that they were involved in fighting the battle. And, we think of it as, oh my God, there's so many of them. But remember, if he can turn every hair into his head into a clone, he wouldn't have been overwhelmed. This is what made the novel so interesting, is that he was basically unbeatable. He and Erlang Shen fought hundreds of times. He actually had fights with the Bull King too before they became friends. Whether he fought Zubaji in the book or not, or whether that was referred to, but he's pretty, like I said, he's a pretty incorrigible guy and did not have a problem fighting. Once he realized he couldn't be killed, that made it all the more interesting for him, because he just never really worried about dying or never worried about staying dead. I mean, he was cut into pieces at one point, he was boiled in oil at one point, I think he was beheaded, all kinds of things have happened to him, but he's just never died. He just keeps a long stride up the hill, especially when you're fighting all of these guys. You just keep fighting them. Eventually you'll come to an area that looks a little bit more serene. A little bit more serene than this one. Okay, and you go into this final cave. When you exit, you're in the next area, short area. I love how the environment changes dramatically. And you won't have to worry about any more of the army from the Celestial Court. Okay, so there are actually 3 shrines. There's this one, and then there's one more, which you can't really activate unless you die in the final part of this, unless you die in the boss fight. So, if you wanted to go back to Zodiac Village now, because you will have gained a lot of will, you could do that. This is the same stone egg that Sun Wukong was born from. The live-action movie did a pretty good job with this part, the whole stone egg thing. He was befriended by a fox guy that knew he was in here. And I think that Fox Y became one of the Bull King's women. This is the old monkey from the beginning of the game that sent me on the quest to retrieve the relics.
来了，
上船。
啊，我说老侯，上了你这贼船。
I'll let the conversation play out because it's pretty interesting.
天下哪里不是贼船？不上我这艘，你以为就回得了头吗？
哎，这里是什么地方？
他的记忆。
This little boat ride is basically sort of a journey through Sun Wukong's past.
一定要拿到手，别人不给他就抢，这眼见辨习、不择手段的臭毛病，与黑熊矜持又有何分别？
小偷小摸要不得，哎，学佛悟道就是大功德。哎，我看呐，差不多，都差不多。
好一只泼猴，在地下称王称圣还不够，偏要跑到天上去讨个官儿做。可这天上没待几日，只因王母不请他赴宴，便怒发冲冠，恨不得把整个天宫都给拆了。哎，耳听激怒，恣意妄为，和那黄毛畜生一个德行。养不熟，养不熟啊！
那时他还小，不懂事儿嘛，又没佛祖教，又没师傅带。哎，你这老人家也忒小气，老揪住人家小时候的丑事儿不放。
大了也没好到哪儿去。他从那五指山下出来后，说是懂了礼数，收了心性，吃果这一泡尿，就全露馅了。木尊长自封偶像，从来没把佛祖师傅那些教诲放在心上。
嗨，顽皮而已。天生本事大的人呢，骨子里都有那么点自恋，我也一样。
比秀痴爱，目空一切。比起那黄眉小子的狂妄，我看也不遑多让。
嚯，这不是那谁吗？叫什么夫人呢？弄得师傅一怒之下把师兄赶回了老家。
哎，在白虎岭，他倒是狠心绝情，接连3次打碎过去的爱人，自以为从此不会再有牵挂。可你也明白， 他心里根本没有放下，不然也不至于成了佛，仍要执意逃离灵山。蛇长必死，多情易舍。这一点他像你，还有你的那些个情人，无论身在何处，永远是孽海晴天的囚徒。
别臭我，老朱是慧根不够，师兄自那次后情情爱爱的消停多了。
哎，八戒，
啊，
仔细看看，这里很多你的好朋友。
酒肉一场，算不得朋友。
酒肉朋友也是朋友。
哼，你说是就是吧。这几个老兄弟似乎没得一个善终啊。
是啊，古往今来的奇才异能之士，何其之多，但真正成就不朽功业的，寥寥无几。你们可知为何？
世道不公，
世道从来不公，
运气不好。
运气只是强者的谦词。
那只能是没我老朱英俊了。
因为空有天赋，不思进取，小富即安，沉迷享乐，想安逸又想名利，想快意江湖又想成佛做祖，哪有这样的好事？身本多忧，怎可全求？牛魔王如此，孙悟空也如此。有天命的眷顾，更需有斩断私心烦念的觉悟。你可记好了。
啊，老侯，这不能是师兄的回忆啊！你又弄鬼哄我们。
哎，如今6根还缺一根，八戒，是哪一根？
眼耳鼻舌身意啊，意缺意。
你方才看到了什么？
我们仨，
那就是最后一根。
哦，我懂了，是你。我一早就猜疑，敢莫你才是大师兄的意，难怪一路引导我们。
不是我，是他。
什么鬼话？你说他是大师兄？
是，也不是。
我说你这个老猢狲，都到这儿了，还含含糊糊卖什么关子？
大圣死后，6根中有5根存留下来，被几个妖王分去，唯独意没了。意为6根之首，是每个生命独一无二的本质。正因如此，它注定会随着生命的逝去而陨灭。
等等，你说大师兄死透了，活不回来了？你个老东西，一直在骗我们！
你的大师兄绝无可能复生了，但他的根本并没有消疏，天地也自会再生出一个合适的后辈，把那根本连同名号一起传下去。这天选的后辈便是天命人。你原是无名之人，却在集齐6根的途中斗了重重艰险，战了许多强者，淬炼出了足以配得上那份力量的刚强意志。
你是说，让这小猴子顶替我师兄？ 他配吗？
孙悟空早就死了。八戒，你心里明白，你们师兄从来没那么圆满。孙悟空既已不在，当接过这名号的人，或者是他。
We can see in the background, just below the sunset,
到了，
Sun Wukong's stone monkey
后
version of
面我
himself.
们不便再送，你需独自过去。孙悟空死后，留下了一具六根全无的残破骨谶。纵然多年过去，那残躯仍有天然灵性，能感应自己生前的气息。你若真是天命所归，便去亲手将这具不生不灭、无魂无魄的僵尸除去，从此六根合一，稀有重续。
不成不成，太医上木木出出的，我不放心，我同他一起去。
这个地方本就是悟空死后残留的执念所化，这返本还原的最后一关，只有靠他自己。你我
We saw this version in the fight against Erlang Shen.
你看，
小猴子，好侄子，打不过就跑。
As soon as Baji realizes that he can't assist him in this fight, he's on his own. In order to gain the sixth and final relic, you have to defeat this boss in all of its versions. This is a multi-stage fight. You have the stone monkey. You have a second phase of the stone monkey, and then you have two other phases. I guess it's a total of 4 phases in this fight. Unfortunately, you're able to, if you die in a particular phase, you'll go back to that phase. You won't go to a earlier phase. So in the first part of the fight, the stone monkey part of the fight versus the broken shell part of the fight, I used the cat's eye and amber prayer beads as curios. And I can equip 4, but those are 2 that are important to use. You could use the fireproof mantle. You could use the tiger's acolyte as the transformation. I did not do that. That was the recommendation. I tried it a couple of times. It didn't really work, so I went with what I knew. In terms of the Supreme Board, you would want to use Jade Essence, Bee Mountain, and Fruit of Tao. That'll give you the most health, and will also generate some ki. So the Supreme Board gives you 10 sips. The Jade Essence is the drink you should use, and the Bee Mountain and the Fruit of Tao are 2 of the soaks. Note that you can equip another soak as well, so take your pick as to which one you want to do. And when we get to the broken shell part of the fight, I'll tell you what you should use as well. Okay, so this takes us to the second phase of the fight. The first phase is the easiest phase of the fight. You can get a lot of hits in. He doesn't do anything different. In the second phase of this fight, he does more of this stuff. And easy to jump because he telegraphs it. But you have to watch out, is that sometimes that will happen. He will do one more. There's also a move where those shockwaves will come back at you. So as you can see, I've decided to stick with the planting fan, which I've used ever since I've gotten it. Actually, I've used it through probably 90% of this playthrough. So I've had it from the first game. It will stun lock him. It stuns all of the enemies. I didn't get as much damage in as I should have. Dodging is definitely your friend in this game. He's gonna have his little slam monkey attack. The ice can't hurt you unless you're at low health, and then it can actually kill you. You want to be patient. You can get a lot of damage in, but you should be patient. He's going to do the same moves in this phase of the fight. So he also uses the stone move, so it will sort of bounce you off of him. Yeah, when he's about to disappear and appear somewhere else, you can see his footsteps, so you'll always know where he is. For some reason, it seems like he tends to do that when you're in the animation for the attack that you're going to do. So when you actually try to hit him, you usually miss because he's doing that. The other thing about this phase is he's able to clone himself. There's only one clone in this particular instance, so he'll create one clone of himself, so there are two of them that you're fighting. In another phase of the fight, there are 3 clones. And they will do this backflip tag team thing, like you'll see. So he will throw these at you, then he'll backflip out of the way, the other one will come in, usually with some type of smash attack. It's going to be ice, or it's going to be this electric thing. I guess it's electricity. I'm not sure whether it's electricity or fire. And it's really rinse and repeat. They don't alter their tactics in this fight. So you can get... it's hard to focus on just one of them, because they will... I don't know what the timing is, but they'll engage for a little while and then back off. And it doesn't make sense to chase them around the arena, because when the other one comes at you, you're wasting your ability to get free damage in. It doesn't matter which one you kill. Once you kill one of them, then you're back to fighting a single stone monkey again. I always try to back out of that ice area. It can freeze you. It's easy to sort of get out of it. So the idea is, when you see him do that, you should definitely try to get out of the way. I hate having to use a life-giving strand at this phase of the fight, but hey, if I can get through this phase into the next phase, then my, I don't think it resets, but at least if I die, I'll die in that phase of the fight and not have to come back to this phase. Because that's the only benefit. So instead of thinking about it as a full 30-minute fighting multiple phases of a boss, you think of each phase as a separate boss fight. Because if you die, you'll come back to a shrine that will appear in this arena, so you don't have to go back to the previous shrine. It will appear on a little ledge right near the water. He will be sitting down in a lotus position, just doing nothing. Maybe he's meditating. I'm not sure. I guess he doesn't have a mind, so I'm not sure what he's doing. But he'll be over there, and so you can actually get one full focus point, max focus point hit on him. You'll always be able to do that if you end up dying and end up at that shrine. And I would say you should take full advantage of it, because you're going to need it. In my first playthrough, I got through this boss fight in the second try, which was surprising, because I thought it would be more difficult than Erlang Shen. It turns out that Erlang was the most difficult boss in the game. In the second playthrough, not quite sure whether one of those updates changed something. For some reason it was more difficult. And even in this fight, which is my third time playing through, he's a little bit more difficult than he was in the very first playthrough that I played. Yeah, I know the game scales a little bit, but I think I outscaled the game. So I'm not sure why that would have been the case. It's still not as difficult as Erlang Shen. I definitely rank Erlang as the toughest boss of the game. And it's worth noting that if you don't fight Erlang because you don't find the secret area, or you missed it, or didn't know it even existed, you will not get the good ending. So I watched someone play the game and they couldn't figure out what was going on, and it was because he never found it. Now, he did go back, because at the end of the game it allows you to go back to a point just before this boss fight where you can then go and find Erlang. If you haven't done all the things you need to do to unlock that, then you'd have to do that first, and it'll give you a different ending. This is an amazing cinematic. Notice little hairs floating around. Meant I activated the Pluck of Many. And now we're moving into the third phase of the fight. And this is where things get real. Not that the first two phases were pushovers, but this one is tough. Because he has his famed armor set. He also has Jingle Bang. He probably knows how to use it better than I do. And he has moves that my character does not have. But unlike Erlang, that sidesteps those 4 focus point moves, he doesn't. So you can actually get some good hits in on him. He can throw his staff, which my character cannot do, which I find interesting. It would be nice if that was part of the DLC, because it looks cool. Yeah, the only time you can't hit him with that stance is if he's moving. Even though the AI tries to lock onto him, it usually misses. Also, if he's on the edge of the arena, there's an area where if you try to hit him, you always miss. It's hard to describe. You may actually see it, I'm not sure. And the planting fan works against him as well. Unfortunately, you know, the smarter move would have been use the planting fan and use immobilize. And then he wouldn't move around and you can get a lot more damage in, but I didn't do that, and so he was moving around. So while the fan kept him stunned, it didn't really allow me to get as much damage as I wanted to get. So in this phase of the fight, you know, the smarter move would have been to use the Mana Bat instead of Wandering Light. The Curios would be Cat's Eye and Thunder Flame Seal. Thunder Flame Seal gives you more mana. Supreme Board, obviously you're going to keep that. You're going to use the Sunset drink, Celestial Lotus as a soak, the Beam Mountain as a soak, and the Fruit of Tao as a soak. If you use those, then you will maintain or keep some mana. Which, because I like to use, you know, spells and stuff, is helpful. This move, there's two ways to deal with it. One is you can go into Cloud Step and then hit him when he comes out of it. The other move is you can use Pillar Stance, go up to max focus, and when he comes down, release Pillar Stance, and then you'll actually end up hitting him. See, that's an example of me missing on a heavy attack because the planting fan sort of took him out of my range. The Cloud Step is very helpful in this fight. So there is a soak that you can use it when you come out of Cloud Step. It causes more damage when you hit him when you're coming out of Cloud Step, which is an armor set that allows you to do that as well. But there is no armor set stronger than the one that we're currently using, so I'm not sure whether or not you'd want to experiment with it. There's another armor set that gives you more attack power and water. It's an armor set that you got pretty early in the game. If you've maxed it out and you use that armor set in this area, there's also a Curios that will allow you to do that. It might be helpful to try using that. The cinematics in this game are just awesome. I mean, Game Science did an incredible job with this stuff. And he is reclaiming all of the relics that I spent the entire game gaining. Remember, his mind is the 6th one. We don't have that yet. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is that I no longer have Wukong's stance. I no longer have 4 focus points that I can gain. So it makes it a little bit trickier. His movesets actually, it doesn't really change dramatically. He does a lot of the same moves. There's a couple of little tricks. Like you'll get immobilized by him. If you don't get out of it quick enough, you will get hit. So I still have the life-saving strand as my spell, as a spell. Because he does a lot of damage in this part of the fight, so you get hit a lot. There's no way to avoid everything. I also have a life-saving pill, but I don't have any left. This is an annoying move because it's just hard to avoid the blades that are coming at you. So I'm going to go up to plant and fan again. Hopefully I'm close enough to actually create, get a little bit of damage in this time. And use the Acromanabat. And I wasn't close enough. I mean, the idea is if you stay close enough, you can use it and get some hits in. It definitely doesn't last as long as immobilized, but it's helpful. It's enough to give you a chance to heal if you need to, or to use the spinning blade move if you're close enough to generate some focus points. Yeah, there are parts of the fight where he just stands there, and you're like, should I go and attack him or not? And then he just wows out on you, so you have to be really careful. And there are other times when you have plenty of time to heal, and I totally whiffed that, like I've been doing all game. You have time to make moves because he just stands there looking at you. There are other times when he will just go crazy and attack you. So unlike me, if I were using that circle, he does not regain health in that circle. Whereas my character, if I created one, would regain some health. The problem I have with it is I constantly get knocked out of it by these late game bosses. Early game, if you're going to use it, it actually is pretty good. Late game, if you're going to use it, Erlang Shen and the Broken Sage, or Broken Shell, they'll both knock you out of that circle. Now, you can get to a point where you are on one side of the circle, he's on the other side of the circle, and you're using thrust stance, so you can get some hits in that way. He won't cross it, he'll go around it. It's kind of hard to set it up that way. Yeah, this was stupid because, of course, he's too far away for me to do anything. And I used the Acromanabat. Looks like it's about 3 seconds, maybe 4 that you get with that. You definitely don't get a full 5 seconds of immobilization with the Acromanabat. He used Rock Solid there. I hate that freaking blade thing. And you just have to chip away at his health. I mean, now, the problem is, he has more health than you. And when you get to a point where there's nothing left in your gourd, there's really not a whole lot you can do. Like, I've already used the last of my gourd. Oh, the other thing is he can use his the somersault cloud to fly around the boss arena when, of course, as I said earlier, we can't use the somersault cloud in any of the fights. You can only use it for traveling. And even though I know he's going to throw a staff, I get hit by that staff probably more often than not. Which is pretty frustrating. Whenever he does a circle, he always follows up with a thrust. While he's giving me plenty of chances to, like, get my act together, I don't have any resources that I can use at this point. So that means turning into the Stone Monkey. To get as much damage in as I can, but I mentioned in an earlier fight, I'm just terrible at dodging. I should be better at dodging in this monkey form, but I'm just not. So if you're going to eat all of the damage, then you won't last very long in this form. You do have a resurrection in this form as well, and you regain full health from that resurrection. But still, you know, if I'm not dodging properly, then he's just going to, you know, whittle my health down in like 5 seconds. But you can see where his health is. If I can just get 2 or 3 good strikes on him, then this fight is over. Now I'm down to very low health. And I think I have a life-saving strand left. And that's the only thing that saved me in this fight. Because now I have full health, I have at least 1 or 2 heals in the gourd, so he can run around and try to do all of this stuff if he wants to, but all I needed to do is get 1 hit in on him, and I did. So while this has been edited down to look like one fight, it definitely was not a one-time deal. Because I was using Wandering White earlier, and that wasn't working. I switched to Upper Mana Bat. So this probably took me 3 tries. And he's laughing because he knows that he has beaten the Celestial Court. He's free. Well, you as the player have a choice as to whether he's really free or not. If you fought Erlang Shen, then he's free. If you did not fight Erlang Shen, he's not free. Remember, Erlang and his brothers were doing the things that they were doing at the bequest of Sun Wukong. So this was all a part of the plan to escape the Celestial Court. If he didn't do those things, right, then he's still bound in a way that he's been for hundreds of years. Well, he ended up bound that way through his own actions. He only ever wanted to go back to his people.
那个成佛的根本不是他，真正的他早就死在了西行路上。
Wukong's mind, which is the 6th relic.
西游从来都没有发生过，他只不过是说书人杜撰的一只猴子。 但我要讲的故事，你们一定没有听过。
And that is the band that kept him imprisoned. This band was given to the monk on the journey to the west to control Sun Wukong because he was just so uncontrollable. The monk would issue a chant, and the band would tighten, causing Sun Wukong to be in great pain. It was really the only way that they could think of to control him. So the old monkey has a choice. He can put the ban back on Sun Wukong, on the Destined One, or not. If you defeated Erlang Shen, then he's free, and he will not have to wear the ban. If you did not defeat Erlang Shen, he will place the ban on the Destined One's head, basically imprisoning him again. And it would have been a failed quest when you consider the beginning of the game was to collect all the relics to basically free his mind. And we arrive at the final animation of the game. The final animation is basically his life in reverse. So that very first scene at the beginning was the end of his life, basically, and this is traversing backwards. That's the Turtle General. Bashi.
玉帝历此3世，只等击咸了米剑，高天的面界，登了断锁艇，那方才该下雨嘞。
It's him traveling with the monk. Sun Wukong fighting various Yaguai. before going and crashing the Celestial Palace. He did do a lot of damage to the Celestial Palace. It was never really going to be a winnable fight for him. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. But anyway, with that, we have reached the end of our journey in Black Myth Wukong 2024. I said when we started this little journey that I would give my thoughts on the game. And for the handful of you who may be watching the playthrough, it's an awesome game. It's an incredibly good game. The cultural aspects of the game, I think Game Science captured perfectly, and it made sense that they would, since they're Chinese. And this is based on a classic Chinese novel. And there are a few others that, I don't know whether Game Science is working on others connected to this story or Investiture of the Gods. I hope they are, because there are plenty of these kinds of stories that can be told. And they may have, created a whole new genre, because the stories are really rich. They're very good. They're very rich. They're full of very interesting characters. And it's almost like reading Greek mythology. Lots of characters, not all good. There's the, whole good versus evil thing. There's the whole moral question as in terms of, is this right or is this wrong to do? Sun Wukong embarked on the journey that he went on because he felt that he had become a king to his people and he should be treated like one. So he wanted to go to the Celestial Palace. So he finally got an invite. He sort of pushed his way into getting an invite to the Celestial Palace. He did, and then was ticked off because he wasn't invited to an event, and literally wrecked the palace. And of course, that started a whole cascade of events. He was eventually punished, given another task, and that is to accompany the monk on the journey to the west to recover the holy scriptures or celestial scriptures. I don't think they use the word holy. And he did that. And that was the basis of Journey to the West, the book, which was really good. If you haven't read it, you really should read it. And if you haven't watched the live action films, you should watch it. It's a little dated, given the way CGI technology works today versus when those movies were made, but it's fun. It's definitely worth watching. Now, in terms of the game Science, if anyone from Game Science is actually listening to me, which they probably are not, my rating for this game is about a 9.6 out of 10. And you might say, well, why not just give it a 10? Well, it's hard to say that any game is absolutely perfect. I enjoyed this very much. I didn't see a lot of flaws in the game. The two areas that I guess for me, and I'll point them out. One was at the very end, we saw this character that looked like Erlang Shen. He's actually fighting Sun Wukong. I don't believe King Li ever fought Sun Wukong. So if that was Erlang, why is his hair white at the end of the chapter when beginning of the chapter his hair is black and during the gameplay his hair is black? So that is an inconsistency. If that's not Erlang, then forgive me, but I think it is him. So it was a little weird that I was like, well, why is his hair white? That doesn't make sense. The other was the voice acting English dub. I played the game in its original language, so none of the voices bothered me all that much. But listening to the game from other players playing in English, there were two characters that bugged the heck out of me to listen to. One was the, I guess he was a Bodhisattva, who was the headless guy. He had this Irish accent that drove me crazy. I don't have anything against Irish accents, but Irish accents in an ancient Chinese setting just seemed so off-putting. It was just strange. But if you play the game in Chinese, the guy doesn't have an Irish accent, obviously. And so that was, I found that annoying through the entire chapter. I'm like, why does he have an Irish accent? The other was the young Buddha, whose English version is voice acted by a female. And it was evident and it was confusing. I was watching some people play and it's like, is that a boy or girl? I'm like, well, okay, first of all, he's wearing an open shirt. So you can see that it's a boy, boy or male. So I wasn't confused by that, but listening to some of these players say, is that a boy? I'm like, okay, he's bald-headed, he's a monk. Yeah, I don't get it. What's confusing about it? So if you're going to voice act, it seemed to me that it would have been easy to get a young English-speaking Chinese kid to play the part. I'm not sure why they didn't. Same goes for the Irish accented character. It seems to me that it would have been just as easy to get a Chinese actor to voice act in English. There are plenty of actors to do. But with all that said, I will say that this should have won Game of the Year. And it did not, and that's disappointing. But this was one of the best games I've ever played, and it's in my top 10. It's number 7, actually. Elden Ring still holds the number 1 spot. But for now, that's it. So thank you guys for joining me on this journey, and we'll see you again soon. So if you would like, please comment, like, and subscribe to this video. It would really be helpful. And I will see you in the next series. I don't guess I should say what that is on this video, but upcoming is Dynasty Warriors and Assassin's Creed Shadows. So take care for now. Bye-bye.